Hello and welcome to She the People. We are back again with another interesting edition of Women's Writers Fest. As usual, we are keeping our promise. We are here back with another interesting title and the person behind it. Today we have with us Anita Bhogle, who has come out with a book, very interesting title, Equal Yet Different, Career Catalysts for the Professional Women. I welcome you to She the People, ma'am.
Thank you, Deepshikha. Thanks for inviting.
Anita, as we all know, you are an IIT Bombay and IIT Ahmedabad alumnus, and
I am Ahmedabad. Yeah.
And you spent your career in advertising, market research, and market consultancy, and you've also founded Biz Pundits. This is but this book is very different, as we spoke about on phone also, and I can't wait to start this discussion. Congratulations on the book once, and I'll begin by asking you, that while reading the book, I realized there's a lot of research, there is a lot of personal experience, and there are a lot of insights from your friends and people who are women who are big in the industry. So how did you come to believe, or what led you to believe that this is right time for this book to come out? As audiences, are we matured enough to talk about these issues now?
Yes, so we've grappled with this issue of not having enough women leaders or women in influential positions. So that is something that is at the back of everybody's mind, So the thought actually has been there with me for a while, and it came out of the work that I've been doing for the last 2 decades. So my husband Harsha and I, for the last over 20 years, have run a motivational workshop called The Winning Way. And there, we talk about winning and success. And obviously the majority is male. And so, what we spoke about the winning triangle, which is a combination of ability, attitude, and passion. And we promoted that as the universal formula for success. And we found that, it worked by and large. But over the years, I found that, I realized through my conversations with women, who the number was increasing in the audience. And they also were more articulate, more ambitious. The younger generation is like that. So through my conversations, I realized that what works for men wasn't really enough for women. And therefore, we talked about choices and things like that. And so this thought about, equal yet different has come from that. I think we now have a business case for having more women in the workforce. And every bit of research really points to the fact that, diverse teams are more productive teams, they are happier teams, they are more innovative teams, and better placed to take decisions. So that is a clear pointer. Organizations have a diversity on their agendas. Policy is also working towards, making it a level playing field for women. And yet, at the same time, you find that women are still dropping out of careers. We still don't have enough leaders, like I mentioned. Certainly not in industry fora or in policy making or decision making roles. If you even look at, the VC money that's coming in, a very minuscule amount has gone to startups with women founders.
Yeah.
So, which is why, I feel, given all this, we're ready for the book. And, in all these conversations that I've had with women, I think women are holding back only because, the rest of society and organizations are not yet ready. So the women are ready, I think. Women are ambitious, but the rest of the world is not quite ready. And so I feel that, I got a feeling that it was almost like a dam about to burst. Now that the book is launched and I've got so much feedback, and I find so many, even the younger women writing in to say that, the messages there resonated with them, which now I'm convinced that, it was the right time to do a book like that.
Right. So, my understanding, the way I read the book, the point you're trying to make through this book is women need to be treated equally in terms of their caliber, but differently in terms of the need from workplaces.
Yeah.
Do you think this is right? Would you like to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, which is why really the title equally are different, because I believe that women are equal in terms of ability and ambition, but different in terms of the way they are wired, the way they are conditioned, and also their challenges, the challenges that they face. So they view success also differently. So in many ways, because of the conditioning, we look at life and work a little different. I think women are also, since they look for flexibility, they want flexibility on the input, but they want to be evaluated the same way in terms of their performance. So they want, flexibility on the input, but no quarter really on the output. So, which is why I feel equally and different was a good title, and it seems to have been liked by a lot of people.
Yes.
Unfortunately, sometimes, not being the same, being different, people see as being less, and that is where the problem lies. Because I think all the rules are made for the majority, and this is true of any minority. You'll find, the rules are made for the majority, and that's why we say it's a man's world, right? Your leadership, the default leadership model is male. When you think about, a leader, you see a confident, successful, ambitious, even arrogant sometimes, powerful man. You don't see a leader, and so it's really going against the norm, and that is what we are, dealing with.
Absolutely.
So the point really there is that just being different does not mean that you are not equal. And so, which is why, we're looking towards growing the numbers in a way, and growing the numbers in the more significant roles, so that all this unconscious bias that is there, because we're still in a minority, will slowly, go away, and stereotypes will be shed, and then we can kind of, work towards a fairer world.
So when you're mentioning this, the image, like you rightly said, the man's image is like that one person. And the moment you think of a successful woman, she has 10 hands and managing like 10 odd things at the same time.
Yeah. So interestingly, work-life balance is only a question that people ask of women. How will you manage? Are you planning to have children? As if, as if it's a blip on the sea. It's not. It's part of life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, so really, women don't need to explain all that, and careers need not get so sidelined just because children are born.
Yeah, so that takes me to the next question, I had in mind to ask you. You mentioned this in the book as well, that personal choices have far greater impact on a woman's career than it has on a man's career, especially things like marriage and childbirth are issues. Are speed breakers. So how do you think in our generation we can actually start but talking about things differently, so that they probably become shorter pit stops or pauses rather than being absolute speed breakers in women's careers?
Yeah, so like you rightly pointed out, maternity and motherhood, and then elder care. These are the main reasons why women drop out of career. And these are responsibilities.
Yes.
Right? And society, unfortunately, expects women to bear all the load, which in itself is not correct. But at the end of the day, all these are choices, right? Yes. Maternity, motherhood, all these are choices, and the consequences really need to be kind of, understood, because they are the main kind of causes for dropouts. And the reason really is that women's careers are not being given priority, right? So a man takes a transfer, the husband takes a transfer, the woman is expected to, and also willingly, she goes along.
Yeah.
Right? Work-life balance like I said, only women are asked, and they bear all the burden. So, which is why I feel that, choices, the personal choices that a woman makes impacts her professional career as well. It impacts men as well, personal choices, but more that is restricted to their personal lives, not so much professional life. But in the case of women, it affects their professional lives as well. And what do you expect people to do? I said, it's a matter of priority for the family as well, and matter of priority for the women as well. Because if men don't share the load, then they're leaving women with very little time to invest in themselves, right? Or if they are taking transfers, like I said, or you expect trailing spouses, especially when people go abroad. That's the main reason, because visas don't always give you the right to work in another country. So when you're doing this, if a man can take into consideration, the implications for the wife's career, then I think these two kind of things will help the woman. And from the woman's point of view, I feel again that she needs to give priority to her career. There are going to be challenges, right? There are going to be pressures, but women need to be resilient. You can't. The thought of quitting should not come at the slightest challenge. Right? And sorry.
I think you talk about career intentionality.
That is right. That is a term that's come from the firm Avatar, which does a lot of work in this. And I think it's a beautiful term that, career intentionality means, how keen are you on your career? How important is it in the overall scheme of things for you? And whether you are in control of your own career or not. So you really need women to be resilient. You need them to invest in their careers. And my research somewhere has shown that, women think of themselves as secondary breadwinners. Even they think of themselves, and so do organizations. Organizations often ask women, or, that this whole thing about wage gap, then why do you need so much money? Sometimes they ask why you, or they just assume that, the man puts the food on the table and therefore needs to support the family, but a woman doesn't, and women don't negotiate typically. They don't value themselves. So I just feel that if you think of your career and your earnings as secondary, then somewhere, in your mind, you also think that, it is disposable. So women also need to be stronger on their career intentionality, and they need to be more resilient, and they need to be more invested in their career.
Absolutely. So, another thing, this one sentence which has really resonated with me from your book is: a wasted career causes much less regret. A failed marriage causes a much bitter stigma. And I think it really kind of, I feel this, because this is so true for so many people. Even in my generation, I would know, who have quit working just to save their marriage. What can we do as our generation, the generation X or generation Y, so make it better for the millennials, the kind of allyship that should come within, probably we can work out in our generation so that it is better for the next one.
Yeah, I thought that things had changed. Maybe the pressure to get married at 24, 25 has shifted to 27, 28, but that pressure is still there. The thing is that for a girl child, right from the beginning, right from childhood, everybody talks about, marriage. Parents are saving for the daughter's marriage. Everybody talks about that. Films show so much romance. When a girl is growing up, everybody's talking about getting her married. Career somewhere comes a little later in life. So, marriage is important. She has to grow up and she has to get married. And when that doesn't happen, so there is actually one of the women I spoke to, she said that, girl child, 28, unmarried. And that is the prescription or the diagnosis of my mother's hypertension. So that is, I think, a very telling state. And regardless of how well you're doing in your career, when girls reach a certain age, everybody wants them married. And this question kind of seems to overshadow everything else that you might have achieved. So you asked, what is it that we can do? I think for starters, women need to dream aloud, like I said. So I have a whole chapter on dreaming aloud. Because sometimes I think, we women assume that people will understand, people will support us. I'm a doctor, and therefore everybody will be supportive of my career at home. Things like that. It doesn't work like that. You need to be more articulate. You need to tell people that, this is my dream, this is my goal, this is my ambition. I want to do well, I want to do this. So that is really the first step, that you need to spell out your ambition.
Yeah.
And obviously, you need to do it early enough. And so before getting married, you need to have those conversations with your family, with the prospective spouse and their family, so that you set the expectations. Right? Because, without support, every career needs support, especially a woman's career. And so you need to have a buy-in from all those people. Everybody wants an educated daughter-in-law, meri bahu doctor hai, meri bahu ye hai, wo hai. But people don't realize that while careers are rewarding, they are also very demanding, right? It's not just about having a job. In my book, I've talked about professional careers.
Yeah.
Those are very demanding. And if you need to do well, you need to invest constantly.
Absolutely. So where can men, our partners, as men, they can act as allies, on a personal level?
So like I said, two things. One is they need to share the load, so that, the woman has a little more breathing space. The second thing is giving priority to her career as well. So if she needs to, upskilling is such a big thing now, that, if she needs to do a course, if she needs to go somewhere and, qualify, do a certification, or even have, exposure to some other role, I think that should be given a priority. And the third thing is, it's not like men don't do it or men don't want to do it. But if you've read the book, you will realize that probably the most hard-hitting term in the book is that men are mentally feminist. What does that mean? It means that, everybody has learned to say, and everybody in their minds thinks, oh yes, I'm supportive of my wife's career. I'm very proud of the work that she does. But that does not, they don't walk the talk. It does not translate into anything concrete that they do at home. So they don't contribute in any way. They don't take responsibility in any way. The younger generation, I think, is a little more egalitarian. But by and large, you find that Indian men are neither equipped nor inclined to really share. And also because, jobs these days are, people have to work so long that the longer the man works, more difficult it is for the woman to invest in hunger.
And interestingly, you talk about how men, they take directions at home. They need to, they don't, and that's so true. I just have to observe that.
Yeah. They'll say, okay, I'll make the coffee today. And then they start shouting and saying, so where is the coffee kept? How much do I need to put? Do you wanted this with milk, without? So they just lost.
Yeah. And you move the coffee and the sugar they won't be able to find.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which is why more and more women want guys who've lived alone, who've gone abroad and things like that, because then you're forced to learn how to run a home. So at least in some ways they're better placed.
Yes. So I'll just move a little ahead in the book and at places where you're talking about how organizations are changing, and it's with reference to the MeToo movement. And you talked about, well-meaning policies are there to make sure that women do not have to face unacceptable behavior. But some of these have been put into place in a way that they have backfired and been counterproductive for women, basically. So how do we change this approach? What would you suggest in your experience that these transitions?
So I think we were very hopeful about the Me Too process, So I think it created a lot of awareness.
Yes, of course.
It did.
It
But at the same time, the results were kind of disappointing, because I think the women were, the victims were named and shamed and left unemployable, and made to answer the most awkward questions repeatedly and live through those experiences. On the other hand, the men who were named, I think, got away without any kind of punishment. And many of them were high performers, and so organizations really pushed the decision to do something and take action till they couldn't take the pressure anymore, so they tried to avoid any kind of action for a very long time. But even more disappointing than that, I think, were the men and women who turned around and said, we always knew it was like this. So they chose to look the other way.
Yes.
And I say that that is, the biggest disappointment, because we need really as a society to have a culture where people respect women and need to realize that this is not on, this is wrong, and that no one should put up with it. So if we need a society like that, then I think there has to be a culture and an environment where women can stand up fearlessly and also get the support from other men and women to point out wrong behavior. And I think organizations also should take action, because otherwise you're not sending the right kind of signals. So this is really what it is: sensitization and communication that this is not on, and action whenever there is some problem.
Right. So another thing that I picked up from your book, it's you said that the millennials are very lucky, because they are going to come across a very good, large pool of experienced working women. How do you think that this is going to change the things going forward, change the game in terms of
Yes. Sure. So that was another motivation for writing the book, because I think we have enough people, and if they only share their stories, then the younger generation knows what are the potholes to be avoided and what are the ladders that are possible to climb. So that is the first thing, that if you know what are the challenges well before you get to them, then I think you're better prepared mentally and in terms of the kind of support systems that you need to create. So that is the first thing. The second thing is, now we have enough role models, and role models, as I've written in the book, are very important because I think they give people hope, and they give youngsters the confidence that it is possible to do that. So if you have, let's say, a young lawyer who does not see too many seniors in practicing, then somewhere that gives a signal that no, maybe it's very difficult or not possible. And also because our conditioning is such that we take softer options. Again, like I've pointed out, women lawyers want to join firms and not litigation because that is the tougher route. Doctors want to become physicians, but not surgeons. Even among doctors, many of them want to be anesthetists or kind of more supporting roles, and so fewer people want to be surgeons. But if you have more role models, then obviously it opens the floodgates. Like when women start becoming pilots, now you have so many of them, right? So that is that the signaling is extremely important. So from both these points of view, I think when you know about role models and when you know about people who've done it before you, it's great. And again, it helps you increase the numbers, which again, like I said, when you have more numbers, you will shed stereotypes and bias will go away.
Yeah. And I mean, whenever I've been speaking to a lot of people like you, and this one line which keeps coming back to me is from Michelle Obama's Becoming, where she says, I have been the only woman and the only Black woman in all kinds of rooms. And that's so true for a lot of women who were pathbreakers. I mean, you yourself, I'm sure when you started and now, I mean, how do you see this change?
No, like I said, it's the numbers. You see somebody doing it, and immediately it becomes a possibility.
Absolutely.
So when you see more and more people doing it, and again coming back to dreaming aloud, because a lot of times people go for softer options. The other day I was on Twitter Spaces, and there was this young lady who asked a question, and she said, actually I want to do finance, but my parents are telling me that if you do finance, then you will need a boy who's even more qualified than that, and that could be a problem. So really, women are cutting down on ambition, holding back because of all these things. And I said to her, I think just chase your dream and then look for the right man. And I'm sure that order might work for you.
Yeah.
I hope it does.
Of course. This is my last question for you, and I go back to the beginning of the book, your dedication, where you have where you have said that for your husband, you have said, Harsha, whose phenomenal success has strangely been both a hurdle and an enabler for my career. A lot of it you have mentioned in parts in the book, but what I want to understand from you is that both of you started your journey similarly. Suddenly there was a different arc for his career, and a phenomenal one, inspirational one. How did you hold back in the personal domain, because that's like career, and when he comes, I mean, for you it is like you both are partners. How did you keep that that partition, and how did you stay grounded and not let things take over?
So two things, and this is the observation from a lot of batchmates, having seen so many batchmates, that you start together, but some way because of maternity, motherhood, your career paths start looking different after a while. Because like I said, you go for more manageable options, softer roles and things like that. The man, on the other hand, goes ahead. As it is, the men have the advantage that we are part of the patriarchal system. Yes. And so, our parents are asking us, have you kind of, and definitely in my generation, but I suspect also in the younger generations, is he being looked after? Has he been paid? He has to have enough. So all that still happens. And so anyway, they have a higher priority than women. Now, this gets more complicated if the earning power, there's a difference between the earning power of the man and the woman. Like I said, maternity and motherhood already set women back a little bit. But like in Harsha's case, or with some other men who get other bigger opportunities, and normally, in a family, and I think we also did it, whoever gets the bigger opportunity,
the decision,
go for it. You go for it. Yeah. There is always a hope when you're young that you will also get that kind of an opportunity, and somewhere it will kind of equalize. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. More often than not, it doesn't happen, because I think once you get a lead, then few women find it easy to kind of make up that gap. But it keeps on increasing. Unfortunately, the difference in earning power sometimes translates into, or often translates into, different power dynamics, because your share of voice in a way gets dictated by earning power. That is a sad situation.
Yeah.
Because there has to be a realization that you cannot do whatever you want to do without the support of your partner. And this is true for men and women. Unfortunately, again, it's more true of men and few women. I guess if you are a film star or you are a singer, a woman, you probably face that kind of thing at, I mean, it's the other way. that the woman is earning more. It could be. I've seen it with young cricket players as well, because their parents have never earned the kind of money that they earn maybe in one season. And so the dynamics at home changes. That is the thing that needs to be avoided. So one, the realization that you can't do it with the others without the other person's support, and two, keeping your share of voice, seeing that the other person is respected just as much, because even the children are watching, right? So they also know, who's getting more priority at home. So that is what you should look out for, to have a more equal relationship. We did that. And I think respect is more important. And Harsha and I have worked together as well. And in that business, I took the call. So I was in charge of the business and I took the call. And so I think in a way that kind of works out better in terms of balance, the dynamics.
Right. So as parting thoughts, do you think with more women taking the entrepreneurial route, do you think we are going to achieve this dream of equal yet different
Entrepreneurs? Actually, there have been some good success stories. So my friend Falguni Nair of Nykaa has been a huge success story. You also have women like Renuka Ramnath, who runs private equity firm multiples, or you have Vani Kola of Kalahari Capital, people like that who have done extremely well as entrepreneurs. So there is hope that way. But at the same time, like I pointed out earlier, if you look at the money that has come the way of women from VCs, it is a small fraction. Yeah, so that is still the case. You have more exceptions, but the rule is that the money is not going to the women. I also feel that there are challenges that entrepreneurs have. So entrepreneurs really need to be able to sell their vision, whether it is to investors or to employees, prospective employees, right? So therefore, entrepreneurs need to be good communicators. They need to be good networkers. They need to be good leaders. Traditionally, women have not done well in these fields, in the sense that they have not invested in communication. As leaders also, it's a difficult challenge for a woman to be seen as a good leader, because nobody likes powerful, successful women. So there are challenges that an entrepreneur also faces. So it's not easy. The same, entrepreneurs will face the same challenges as other CEOs or leaders. So yes, maybe it's a way to kind of, get out of the rat race and do something on your own and start something on your own. But the challenges are still going to be there. It depends on how well you do on the other things.
Right. So thank you for connecting with us. We can go on and on because there's so many things that you mentioned in this book, but sadly we have to stop here. I thank you for joining us and good luck with the book.